Welcome to today's episode of the CCIR Student Research Spotlight series. I am your host, Jasmine Tien, and it is my greatest pleasure to welcome to today's episode Mihika Gautam, a Year 12 student at the Dubai English-Speaking College in Dubai. During her time with CCIR, Mihika is working with Professor Harold Wydra of the University of Cambridge, exploring the field of the geopolitics of the Cold War. She is currently researching the American involvement in South Korea post-Korean War. Mihika, welcome to the program.
Hello everybody.
And Mihika, today we're going to be talking a little bit about your research, a bit about your experience with CCIR and working with Professor Wydra, and we're going to finish up with you sharing some tips and advice for students who might want to join CCIR in the future. So let's jump straight in with, I'm curious about what initially drew you to exploring geopolitics in the Cold War and specifically American involvement in South Korea in the first place. Could you talk to us a bit about that?
Of course. So currently I am a Year 12 student studying History A-levels. And one of the papers I have to talk about in History A-level when I do my exams is the Cold War, or America, but I also talk about the Cold War as well, the foreign policy of America. And I think my interest in the Cold War stemmed from there, including my GCSE days as well. We had a paper on the Cold War, and it was just so fascinating how the two superpowers, the Soviet Union and America, how they think and how they react to each other. And as I went into A-levels, how that Cold War affected not only the foreign policy, for example, its involvement in Vietnam or Korea or Cuba, how it also affected the domestic thinking as well. So I really love, and I will continue to love the Cold War because it's so fascinating in so many different ways. Regarding Korea?
Yeah.
Yes. So
my mind.
So Korea, for several reasons. A personal reason is because I've always been interested in Korean culture, Korean entertainment industry, basically everything about Korea I've been interested in. So I've been really wanting to get into the history aspect of it. Another reason is I'm in a very British based school. Including the fact that all my A-levels are tailored to the West. So I've wanted to take change my direction a little bit to Asian history as well. So that's why I've taken a particular interest in Korea, because it is an involvement with Korea that is it's an involvement with America that is normally associated with one or two presidents, Truman and Eisenhower. So I wanted to see what happens after Eisenhower. And I did find a lot, actually. Kennedy did a lot to help in the 1961 onwards.
Could you expand a bit more on that?
Yes, actually, I would like to. So basically, after 1961, there was this student coup, and it was run and to replace, I forgot the name, just a momentary blip. But the new leader was a Park Chung-hee, and he led a very dictatorship, but not like the one you would think in North Korea, but a very strict regime. But what happened was it was a period in time where it really changed the economics and trade of South Korea, and it really opened up the export market, especially. And what America did actually was it helped. It basically gave a lot of advice. It gave a lot of monetary aid. And not even a governmental level, on a organizational level, there were so many organizations that helped a lot of South Koreans. It was one of the top. South Korea, I think, was one of the top 3 beneficiaries aid that they got from America, or America contributed to. So, and it's not even stopped at Park Chung-hee's. It continued to develop from to 1970s, 80s, 90s, even during the recession in the 90s. America was still involved, and today they're still major exporting partners, and they're always interlinked. We see in Korea a lot of American influence, and now in America we are seeing the emergence of so many different aspects of Korea, Korean culture, Korean food. A lot of Korean people live over there. The entertainment industry is booming. The K-pop industry is booming over there. It is fantastic how this does not only date back to even the 1950s, it started all the way from the 1800s, 1860s. So it's really fascinating to learn about their relationship.
No, that does sound absolutely fascinating. I wanted to pick up a little bit on what you were saying about South Korea being this beneficiary of so much aid from America. And I feel that oftentimes, especially in Western media, it is painted as, oh, the West is helping the global South, out of the goodness of their hearts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would be very interested. Could you talk to us a little bit about maybe some of the factors or the reasons why America stands to gain, or I should say what they stand to gain from having this kind of relationship with South Korea?
Well, in relations to before I answer, could you just rephrase it so I can I'm sorry, could you just rephrase so I can understand it more appropriately?
Absolutely. Sorry, apologies. So basically, what I'm saying is that we often think that the West is helping the global South out of the goodness of their heart, right?
Yeah.
But that's usually not the case. There's usually something that a Western power stands to gain, or something that they want, that they can benefit from, in having this relationship with a country like South Korea. I think you touched on it a little bit about, exports.
So in regards to the period I was talking about, 1960s onwards, that was still in a period, that was a very turbulent period of the Cold War. The 1916 being turbulent movement, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis, we've had the Berlin Wall being built. No, it wasn't. The Berlin Wall was already built. We have so many turbulent situations.
Yeah.
With JFK. And so the point of the Cold War was to, in simple terms, basically from America's side, stop the spread of communism,
Yeah.
all while trying to spread their political and economic ideology of capitalism and the free market. That is why they stayed in South Korea after the Korean War, because Korean War, geographically speaking, no, not the Korean War, South Korea, geographically speaking, was in a very threatening position. We had north to the south, we had China to the west. So it was both very hardcore communist countries, and we had Russia further north. It was very much in a position surrounded by communism. So they needed to keep their influence in. We've seen this influence and economically, politically, through their economic involvement, their political involvement, and helping form the Blue House, or that's a bit later actually, and also military. Busan is one of the, I think Busan still has an American military base. I've read a lot about how military involvement in America is very vital to be able to keep those communist countries or those communist regimes out of South Korea. So at that time, it was there. At that time, it was just maintaining this capitalist free market thinking during that time. After the end of the Cold War, it was just now trying to maintain a partner and trying to maintain its superpower status. That is why having so many trade and so many links and connections is really important for America, because not only does a lot of countries rely on them, but America also relies on those countries because they are relying on them. So
yeah, that's absolutely fascinating, and I think you're so right. Absolutely, America has always had its own brand of imperialism,
exactly.
imperialism, their brand of democracy, And as you say, like South Korea was in a very precarious position because, as far as America was concerned, we just lost North Korea to communism.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense to me. So, um, I'm interested in hearing about your final project. So, you're exploring all these different areas. Have you had any thoughts about maybe what ideas you'd like to pursue in your final project? Or are you not super sure yet?
I've had some ideas just dangling in my brain. It was like, okay, that was weird. But yes, I've had some ideas I would like to discuss. Initially, I was thinking neocolonialism, American neocolonialism in South Korea. However,
Yes.
that was that stretched a bit too far. I was pushing my limits. It didn't really
Yeah.
fit the criteria of what neocolonialism is, so I couldn't really do that. So I've been dabbling with this idea of like, right, was American involvement in Asia generally positive?
Right.
Obviously, we let's although it hurts me to say this, but I can't get America didn't do all bad. Like we said, it helped boost a major economy as we know today. So I was thinking to use two case studies, Vietnam and South Korea, because Vietnam being one of America's biggest failures, and Korea and South Korea, I would say, is also a big success for them. I wouldn't necessarily say South Korea became what it is today because of America,
Yeah.
but it was a definite factor, I would say.
Yeah.
So I was thinking to do something along those lines with the same time period because the time period definitely fits. 1960s Vietnam with 1960s Korea definitely fits, especially during under Kennedy's time. And Kennedy's time was actually very important. I think so far, I would say Kennedy's, as we like to call him, a foreign policy president. He was genuinely involved in foreign policy, and I believe he's what kickstarted the Vietnam War. Then Lyndon B. Johnson took over, so on and so forth.
Mm, mm. No, that sounds incredible. And just to say that I remember when I was doing research when I was at university, I most of the time I had no idea going in what I was going to do. And it is often the case that you do have to go down these rabbit
Yeah.
holes before you find, oh, this is the angle I want to take. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And every dissertation I've ever written, I had to change the title 50 times.
Yeah, it is
Before
really
it came
annoying,
to.
but it will get there. I hope I will get there.
Oh no,
Especially
absolutely.
especially balancing schoolwork and all.
Yeah.
It's tough, but it
And you
was
very
totally
clearly
good.
have the knowledge. You very clearly have the knowledge and the understanding, and the passion in this subject. So I'm absolutely confident you're going to find it. It's just about finding that angle that you want to
Yeah.
take. Yeah. Can you talk to us a little bit about what it was like working with Professor Wydra and with CCIR, just more generally?
Well, in short, it was a fantastic, fantastic time. It was so surreal.
Mm,
Um, I mean, being taught by Professor Wydra and also the TA, Neve, I absolutely love them. The way they were teaching was so patient with us almost. They made sure we understood everything, even if it went over time. They made sure we understood everything. And it almost, as I'm going to university next year, it made this was almost like a window to
yeah.
see what university life was like. And because it was so calm, it was so sweet, it never felt intimidating to be taught by a professor. It made me realize how excited I am actually to go to university, and there's nothing necessarily to be scared of. They're so approachable. In terms of the content, it was actually very interesting. Our sessions were divided into two sections, Russia and USA.
Uh-huh.
So I think Russia was the most, or at least in this case, Soviet Union was the most eye-opening this topic I've learned, because ever since GCSE or year 10 times, I've always been taught America America was the good and Soviet was
Yeah.
the bad.
Yes.
But towards the end, it's not necessary. I'm not saying the Soviet wasn't bad, but it's almost sad to see what they had to end up with at the end of the Soviet rule and downfall, because they were left without an identity. Their identity was always defined by this communist regime set up by Stalin. But once it got knocked down, what did they have? So, and it was really fascinating to understand that they don't have that identity. In fact, I did a presentation in my school for the Politics Philosophy Society. And I kept talking about how maybe what we're seeing today with the annexation of Crimea, the Ukrainian Russian war, that could all be the aftermath of the Soviet Union collapse, because Putin wanted basically to put back the Russian identity. He wants to regain that Russian identity. And that is why he's doing that's partly the reason why, not necessarily the sole reason, but partly the reason why he's doing what we see in the news today. So I think it's really fascinating to see the collapse of identity along with the collapse of a political ideology in a huge landmass as well.
No, absolutely. I mean, Putin, as former member of the KGB, I mean, you can see how much he would love to rebuild what the Soviet Union was before the collapse. Yeah. So could you talk to us a bit about, your time with CCIR? Has it changed your understanding about this field of geopolitics? Has it given you ideas of what you might want to pursue in the future in research?
Actually, what CCIR has definitely been like an eye-opening experience in terms of what university will be like. It's just basically a course of a mini university lecture. That's basically what it is. And it's been an eye-opening. And it did help me actually, because currently I am trying to choose which courses I want to take for my universities. And now this has helped me narrow down to the fact that I want to go into a history politics course. I've always had a plan set out with my life. And the only blip so far was choosing what I want to do for my undergraduates. So, but this helped me. I wanted to do history politics. And what's even better is both Professor Wydra and Neve, my TA, both are from Cambridge. And my dream university is Cambridge.
Hey, I went to Cambridge. I definitely support that. I loved Cambridge.
I really want to go. I think you should. I mean, as a history geek, the fact that I get to study in the same building Henry VIII built is just mind-blowing.
I will say that it was very surreal for me during my 3 years in Cambridge, just walking around and going, oh my God, these people walked these halls.
I swear. And I've seen videos where they just have huge portraits of the Tudor monarchies. And it's really fascinating because I am currently also studying the Tudor monarchy, but I'll fangirl about my Cambridge later.
No, I think you should absolutely apply to Cambridge. I could see you in Cambridge for sure.
Please say this so loud so the admissions officer can admit me.
I mean, I would definitely suggest Homerton because that was the college that I went to. It's the best college in the university, but I'm definitely not biased. So, okay, before I get sidetracked, because I can fangirl about Cambridge all day, I loved my time there. Talk to me a little bit about any advice or tips you might have for students listening to us right now who might be like, oh, CCIR, it sounds amazing. I'd love to apply to it.
Okay. I can, to all these students who want to apply, don't be afraid, take the leap. I have worked with like 4 smart students. I believe one of them is smarter than me. He knew more about my topic than me. He's doing his GCSEs. But do not feel afraid, okay? This is a learning experience. You're going to meet so many new people. You're going to have so many interesting discussions. And when it comes to the writing aspect, currently, for your reference, I'm currently trying to write 2 report papers, my EPQ or personal project. and my CCIR. And coming from the experience of writing my own thesis, trust me when I say do not feel scared if you don't have it at the right go. It is not something you are supposed to get within the first week you finish CCIR. It is something that is going to take time. This is something that professors now are still trying to master. So it is a difficult process, but you will get there eventually. And it is a great opportunity for not only the material rewards like a recommendation letter, but also academic and knowledge reward. You get to learn so much, something you don't typically learn in school, because it's academic articles, and it's interesting, it's insightful. And I would also like to say they will be there constantly to hold your hand. Obviously, these professors and TAs understand that you're high school students, you're just beginning to get into this routine of what university is like. Do not feel scared. They will always be there to hold your hands. They don't expect you to write an essay every day. They will be there to hold your hand, and do not worry. It is a chance of a lifetime, and I personally loved it, and I would recommend it to all of you.
Yeah, I just want to echo what you were saying as well about, not being afraid about working with clever people, because, I mean, working with clever people is how you learn the most, really. And something that we talk about in Cambridge quite a lot is imposter syndrome, where because when at Cambridge, everyone is as clever, if not cleverer than you. But it doesn't mean that you don't have value anymore. Yeah, and it's just embracing that, isn't it? It's just embracing it and just be enjoying learning and exploring and figuring out what you are interested in. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mihika, it's been absolutely amazing talking to you. I mean, your knowledge just blows my mind, and I'm so excited to see what you come up with your project. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you would like to learn more about CCIR and the work that they do, please visit www.cambridge-research.org. I am Jasmine Tien. This has been Mihika Gautam. And thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the CCIR Student Research Spotlight series.